Funding for this program is made possible by Burke Nursery and Garden Center in Burke, Virginia. You'll find trees and shrubs, perennials and annuals, water garden supplies, houseplants, and bird and gardening supplies. Burke Nursery also provides landscape, plant diagnostic, and installation services, as well as the October month-long Pumpkin Playground Festival featuring hay rides and much more. For more information, you can check out their website or call 703-323-1188. Welcome to Gardening with Burke Nursery, the show where we help you grow your garden and increase the curb appeal of your yard. I'm your host, Misty Kacharis, the horticulturalist at Burke Nursery and Garden Center. You know, earlier this year, I produced a show on how to attract and enjoy the birds that come to your yard year-round. This year, at this time of year, I thought about the birds again and how many of us are spending more time with our families. So today, I'd like to share with you some fun that you can have with your children and other family members by creating bird seed decorations. Bird seed decorations are great. You can increase your knowledge of birds by knowing what type of birds are attracted to what type of seeds. And you can have fun with your family and place the decorations all over your yard. And you can also give these decorations as gift to your bird-loving friends and family. And if you want more details about the birds that spend time year-round in your yard and how to attract them, you can also see my show, Enjoy Your Backyard Birds This Winter, by just going to Gardening Tips at burkenursery.com. So what we'll be doing first of all is making what I call bird seed decorations. And for the bird seed decorations, what you'll need is bird seed. As I said, any type of bird seed will do. Now this is a general mix of bird seed, and most of your birds, like your cardinals, your your finches, your titmice, your chickadees, and even your woodpeckers will like this type of bird seed because this has black sunflower seed and it has regular sunflower seed. It has a little bit of peanuts in there, and it also has a little bit of millet. The other thing that you will need to have is that you'll need to have pectin. Well, actually, when I first did this recipe, I used non-flavored gelatin. And whether it's that more people are cooking at home or whether it's that we have the holidays now, but I could not find any non-flavored gelatin. If you are interested in creating this decoration, birdseed decoration with the non-flavored gelatin, just go to the Cornell University website because they have a great recipe there. What is the difference between the non-flavored gelatin and the pectin? Non-flavored gelatin comes from animal parts, and the pectin is plant-based, and both of them are thickener, and both are safe for birds. So if you don't want to use anything that is animal, if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, then you can still create this by using the pectin. You'll need some water, and for later on, you'll need some nonstick vegetable oil. But we'll talk about that more when we, well, actually, let's talk about this now. You'll need your cookie cutters right here. You'll need straws. And you'll need twine as well. So I think now I've covered everything you need, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to make this for you. So the first thing is make sure that your oven is on high heat, and pour in your water. And since this is an electric oven and I have it going, pour in the water first. You don't want to put this down on the heat without any a second thought before I put it on the heat, let me now take my pectin, and the water, the amount of water that you're using is only 1/4 of a cup to 1 package of pectin. And this is really important. This was a new recipe for me, and what I did initially was I followed the package instructions for the pectin, ended up putting in way too much water, and what happened was that I ended up with slush, and my reefs, now 3 days later, I'm still hoping they'll set, and they're not setting. So make sure it's only 1/4 a cup of water to 1 package of pectin. Then what you will do is you will put the pectin into the water, put that over the heat, and have that heat on as high as it will go. Because what we're going to do is we're going to have this water get as warm as it can, and you're leaving it just long enough to dissolve the pectin. And if you look as I'm stirring the pectin here, what you see initially is that there's a lot of lumps in the pectin. Well, don't worry about the lumps. Just keep stirring until all the lumps are gone. There we have it, almost all the lumps are gone. There, now all the lumps are gone. Turn off the heat, take it off the heat, and what you do is you're going to take birdseed. And this is 3/4 of a cup of, in my case today, the all-purpose birdseed. And you're going to take this dissolved pectin and just mix it into the birdseed. Let me move over here where you can see this a little better. See, I've just taken the pectin, put that into the birdseed, and I'm just mixing the birdseed. And what I'm doing is I'm just coating the birdseed. And then what I want to do is I have right here, as I mentioned, I have these cookie cutters right here. And I am going to take the birdseed, and you want to put this on a tray that either has parchment paper or a tray that has wax paper so that it won't stick to the bottom. And I almost forgot the important part, which is also so that you can get this out of here, what you want to do is just use this non-stick spray, and you just want to spray it, and then you're just filling these up. That's all you do. See how simple this is and how much fun you can have with your kids or other family members as you make your ornaments. And then the purpose of the straws, you cut the straws into small little bits, and you'll put the straw right in the top, because you're going to want to take twine and put the twine through the ornaments, so you need a hole there. And what I'd like to do is let me show you what this looks like when done. One important thing that I did not mention is that this is going to have to set overnight, meaning after you've put the seeds in the ornaments, just set them aside. Do not put them in the refrigerator. You can after you've made them, but they set better if they're not in the refrigerator. And this one is one that I have done already. It's set, but I decided not to take it out of the container. And look how easy. It just slides right out. And then I take the straw out, and I have a little hole where I'll be putting the twine through. And here we have it. These are the done ornaments. Birds love them. Unfortunately, squirrels might love them as well. You can hang them anywhere outside that you want. And if you don't want to use twine, you can use string, or you can make it very, very fancy, and you can use ribbon if you want. If you use ribbon, just make the hole a little larger. And if you'd like to make these at home, here's the recipe. One of the things that you may want to consider is this other birdseed ornament. And this is a great one to do with children that are 2 or 3 or 4 or 40 years old. It's a very simple, you just need a few, what I like to call props. And so the first thing that you need is you need pine cones. So this is what I call a pine cone decoration. Then you need your birdseed. And with the pine cone decoration, it really is a good idea to get birdseed that has some millet in it. Millet is the little white dots that you see here. And the reason that this is important is that you want to be able to make sure that all the birdseed goes into the crevices of the pine cone. You can also use what I call Niger seed. Now, if you use Niger seed, that's going to attract your goldfinches and your house finches. But if you use this all-purpose seed, this will attract your cardinals, your titmice, your chickadees. It'll also attract your woodpeckers. And unfortunately, any seed could attract those nasty little things called squirrels or even chipmunks. But let's plan that most of this is going to be for the birds, literally. The first thing that you want to do with your pine cone is you want to take twine. And it's easier to put the twine on first. The reason you're putting on the twine is then you can hang this up. And the reason I said it's easier to put it on first is because when this is all slathered with the peanut butter, then what will happen is that it'll be harder to get this twine to stay. Oh, and here's something that's very, very critical. Unfortunately, a lot of people have peanut allergies. And so you don't want someone not to be able to make these pine cone ornaments, but rather what you want to use is you want to use Crisco as opposed to the peanut butter. That way, if you have a peanut allergy and you use Crisco, you're not using the peanuts, so obviously you'll be able to make your pine cone birdseed decoration. But here's what you do. You open up your peanut butter, and the reason this is so fun for kids is that you're using your hands to slather. And I do mean slather. Basically, you're just using the spoon to get either the Crisco or the, in this case, peanut butter out of the jar. And you will end up having to clean off the jar too because everything gets messier and messier, but it's still fun. And just gently cover the pine cone. You don't want to rub so hard that you start breaking these parts of the pine cone. And as you can see, I've done the best I can to cover all the crevices. And if you see any more crevices that need to be covered, then you can do that. And I recommend initially starting with the top of the pine cone at the with the top of the pine cone towards you, and that way you have less chance of breaking any of these little bits of the pine cone. And then afterwards, when you come ready to finishing up, then turn it the other way and just kind of put the peanut butter or Crisco into the crevices that you missed. And then what you do is, again, very simple. And depending on how you feel about this, see, I still have a little more crevices here. So I'll just take a little more of this peanut butter, just fill that in, see? Again, now I'm holding the top of the pine cone down so that I can now get into those spaces I didn't quite get into before. And you can either wash your hands now if you want, or why bother? Because now the next step is that you're going to take this pine cone and you're just going to roll it and just roll it in the bird seed, which I have here on a tray. And then you realize, yes, it is time to do something about the hands. So we're going to take just keep rolling this. And when we come back, I'll have clean hands. Well, I'm back from having cleaned my hands, so now I can show you the final product. And if you take a look at this, you will see that birds are able to get their bird seed, they're able to just nosh on it, as we like to say, and just be a little, I forgot to put the top here so that it can hang. There, just put a knot and you have it hanging. And again, if you want, you could use string, or you can use, if you want, you can use ribbon, anything at all to hang this, and you can hang this anywhere. Now, I do want to go back and say one thing about the recipe for the previous birdseed recipe decorations. Is out of all the decorations, I forgot to mention that you may find some that use corn syrup, you may find some that use flour. You don't need that. So the pectin recipe or the recipe at the Cornell University website for those two products is good. And this, the recipe is simple. So if you'd like to do this at home, here's the recipe. Time left today, and when you're thinking about gifts, definitely you want to think about gifts for your bird-loving friends, but there's also a lot of people that may be bird-loving and they would love to have some plants as gifts as well. And around the holidays, towards the end of the year, oftentimes people think about poinsettias, or even in the fall, they think about planting fall bulbs. And two plants to me two houseplants that are very overlooked are your Christmas cactus, and that's these two plants on the right side. And the other two plants that are definitely overlooked are your cyclamens. And those are the two plants here on the left side. So Christmas cactus, these are phenomenal plants. They come in a lot of different colors. They come in the pink, as you see here. They come in orange. They come in white, or white with a little red at the tip of the flower. And they are a succulent. So as a succulent, what that means is that you don't want to water it heavily. And also the reason that it's called a Christmas cactus is that it tends to bloom around Christmas time. But I have to admit, my ma, she was incredible when it came to plants. She had a Christmas cactus that literally was the size, it was literally 2 feet wide in a pot that was 2 feet in diameter as well. And she did everything wrong, and that thing bloomed year-round. So what do I mean by everything wrong? Well, your Christmas cactus likes to be in full sun most of the year. And that way, in the full sun, it can, as I said, bloom around Christmas time. It can grow, but eventually it starts getting tired of the blooms. And then the other thing that I recommend with your Christmas cactus, even though it may have stopped blooming, is in the summer months, bring it outside, put it outside in a shaded area. And then what you do is you bring it back in the house, about a month, maybe 6 weeks. So let's say 4 to 6 weeks before the time period that you want it to bloom. And that way it's like a poinsettia, but not quite as hard as a poinsettia. The reason I say not quite as hard is that poinsettias, to get those to bloom every year, what you want is to put them in the darkest part of the house, literally in a dark closet, never opening the door for a month, and that's the only way you're going to get a poinsettia to bloom. But a Christmas cactus, if you just put it in a darkened area for about 4 to 6 weeks and then bring it back out into the sunlight, it will start blooming. Unless, like I said, you're like my ma's Christmas cactus and forget that it's Christmas time and or decide that it's the holidays all the time and bloom all the time. And the other thing about a Christmas cactus is that a Christmas cactus is a plant that can actually be easy to propagate. And what do I mean by propagate? This means that you're able to make little babies out of this Christmas cactus. So if you look at a Christmas cactus, I think this one, you will notice that each part of the cactus, Christmas cactus, has a little green leaf here that's kind of attached to each other. And if you wanted to propagate this, if you wanted to make more Christmas cacti, then what you would do is you would take these and you would either gently break them off or cut them off where you see this little space here. And then you would just simply take this and you would put it in the soil, and any potting mix would do, but your better potting mix is what's called seed starter potting mix, because that doesn't have any fertilizer in it. And you would put this in that seed starter potting mix for maybe a month, maybe 2 months, and definitely after a month you would slowly pull on it, and if it started forming the roots, it would have a little tug, and you'd know that it's pretty soon going to be ready to be in its own teeny little pot. So that way you can have many different Christmas cactus. And the other plant is a cyclamen. So understated, and this in our area is a house plant. But I do have a friend who, she said that when she was in the UK, she saw these actually outdoors in flower boxes because they like the coolness. So these are plants that prefer to have coolness in your house. They come in the pinks, or this is a little white with a little pink tip. They come in other colors, and they're just beautiful. And just look at those leaves, the variegated leaves, just gorgeous. And these are actually what I call corms. So corm is a kind of a form of a bulb. And think peony, because that has a corm as well. So this doesn't have the normal root structure, but it's something that as it dies back, you just kind of let it be, and then it starts growing again. So consider these as gifts that you might want to give someone else. Well, I hope that you and your family can have some fun and attract more birds to your yard throughout the year as you make those wonderful birdseed decorations. And if you're interested in getting a copy of the recipes, you can email me at misty@burkenursery.com. I'm your host, Misty Kacharis, and I'd like to thank you for spending your time with me here at Gardening with Burke Nursery. I'm looking forward to helping you grow your garden.
Funding for this program is made possible by Burke Nursery and Garden Center in Burke, Virginia. You'll find trees and shrubs, perennials and annuals, water garden supplies, houseplants, and bird and gardening supplies. Burke Nursery also provides landscape, plant diagnostic, and installation services, as well as the October month-long Pumpkin Playground Festival featuring hay rides and much more. For more information, you can check out their website or call 703-323-1188.